and the reason I say it was important to remember in 1991 or 92 when the dam was actually, or the gates were actually installed, we then went through a period of about 10 years of an extremely wet cycle. And what happened is that nobody noticed what was going on. Nobody could comprehend what was going to happen, which is when the good Lord decided in 2001 that we're not going to have as much rainfall as we have been having. We weren't even getting enough rainfall to recharge the lake, and if you need, let's say, if you have an annual rainfall average in the Hamlin County area of 23, 24 inches, and you need 28 to 30 inches to recharge the lake, if you've artificially stopped any inflow from the Sioux River into it, what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is exactly what did happen. Is that for the first time since the gates were installed in 1992, is the lake went down, and the lake went down, and the lake went down, and the lake kept going down. Lake Madison stayed up. Lake Pickerel up to the north stayed up. Can't tell you what happened over there in Mr. Freeman's area, but all the adjoining lakes stayed up. Why was Ponset as much as 5 feet down? The testimony is going to show and I think this board can consider the commercial results, the economic results of what has occurred over there, is that instead of an active lake, we're going to have Dave Peterson here of Wheel and Green. He's going to be one of the witnesses. He'll testify as to the dramatic effects on his business. Him and his father-in-law started the business, been there 40, 50 years. We're going to have testimony as to the businesses that pulled it up because of this. There will be testimony as to the terrible stench that has occurred and continues to occur because of the low water levels. There will be testimony that there are weeds that we've all witnessed growing in that lake and the low water levels that never have been seen before. Pondweed, whatever it's called, growing from the bottom of the lake on up, that is literally, in 2007, prohibited the use of boats and certainly jet skis out in the area. The other factor this commission should consider is the dangerous nature of the lake. Mr. Peterson will be here to testify how many lower ends, how many motors and other things were replaced because of boaters hitting rocks and everything else. And it was just a terrible situation from 2001 to 2002 on through the present. Agricultural crops during this time were fantastic because they were getting enough rain and they were getting some timely rain. But there was not enough water to even come close to recharging the lake. And this is where Dr. Emmons, Mr. Emmons and Dr. Burkhead are going to testify. And their testimony will be crucial because they'll pretty much tell you that while we are having higher water levels now, obviously, I mean, the spigot's been turned on again. We have higher water levels this year. Things are much better from a water standpoint. But this is going to happen again. These last 6 to 7 years we've gone through, the businesses closing, not being able to use the lake, of the stench, of the danger with the rock piles and things of that nature. It will happen again because there's no way to get water into this lake other than through the 7 years that we've shown has not provided anything through Lake Albert and the upstream lakes. One other point that we intend to talk about, and this is an important point, and that is of phosphorus. And I think this board probably has dealt with phosphorus issues in the past. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on one's point of view, phosphorus has not been dealt with by the South Dakota legislature. As far as we know, the South Dakota legislature has not said an acceptable rate of phosphorus is X parts per whatever. There is no regulation that we're aware of in the state of South Dakota that says this is X amount of parts per million or per billion are harmful to people are harmful to humans, are harmful to cattle, or anything else. Unfortunately, there's other states that set forth a phosphorus level. The state of South Dakota has not done so. And so when you hear testimony today that there's an unacceptable level of phosphorus coming in from the Sioux River, keep in mind our legislature has not determined what an unacceptable level is. Second point in that regard is that there's still emissions coming from various polluting sources, such as the city of Watertown. For some unknown reason, that has not been regulated to reduce the amount of effluents coming into the Sioux River. And phosphorus has not been regulated as to the city of Watertown. And thirdly, it's interesting to keep in mind, we've gone through 30 to 35 years of massive amounts of funding for various people and other professions to regulate the Sioux River and help clean it up. And continuous grants are made and money is poured into the Sioux River. And you would think after 30 to 35 years that that's been accomplished, but apparently, in the opinion of the other side, that hasn't, and therefore we need to receive continued funding for more work on the Sioux River. What are we asking for? We're asking for what we think is very simple. We are prohibited right now, even though the Lake Quonset Water Project District has the flood control permit. We're asking simply that that board, again, remember, one other thing I want to point out, the governor's office takes the position it's a local issue. There probably will be testimony from Mr. Globe, not direct testimony, that the governor's position it's a local issue. What is more representative of the people in that area than this duly elected board? And this board is elected, Lake Quonset Water Project District. It's made up of citizens that live on the lake or in that immediate area. So it's an elected board. These people run for election. They decide the local issues related to water quality and water quantity. What we're asking for is that elected board be able to operate these gates to allow a certain amount of Big Sioux River water into the lake when the board deems it appropriate to have some. And like we were talking last night, right now we have high water levels. This board cannot even open those gates to allow water out of Quonset in advance of possible flooding next year, which seems ridiculous. But the board can't even allow the gates to be open to let some of the water out now to prevent flooding, which it's supposed to do. So we are asking for some flexibility. If we could just take a small amount of water during those dry periods, the evidence is going to show that the possibility exists that the lake could be at least recharged to a certain point that's going to allow maybe the lake to stay at maybe a minimum level throughout the course of the year. And how much, if any, phosphorus will come into the lake, and the effects of that will be testified to by our experts. That's what we're requesting, ladies and gentlemen. I hope we can present the case that you would like to hear, and we will try again to be as succinct and quick as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pelley. Ms. Best?